I want you to look at the screen right now. Not casually, not quickly. I want you to really look. There are 4 masks in front of you. One of them is smiling, a wide, pale, porcelain smile with narrow dark eyes that seem to be hiding something behind every curve of that grin. One of them is demonic, deep red, horned, snarling, radiating something ancient and aggressive that you can almost feel pressing against your chest. One of them is completely empty, hollow eyes, no expression, no emotion, no identity, just a smooth blank surface that somehow feels colder than anything else on the screen. And the last one is sad, eyes drooping downward, mouth curved in silent grief, worn and weathered, carrying a weight that feels like it has been there for a very, very long time. Now here's a question I want you to sit with. Not think about. Sit with. Which one of these 4 masks creates the strongest discomfort inside you right now? Not the scariest. Not the most dramatic. The one that makes something tighten. The one that produces a reaction you cannot immediately explain. The one that your eyes move away from slightly faster than the others. Hold that answer, because what I'm about to tell you in this video, across the next several minutes, is going to reveal something about your inner world that most people never discover about themselves in an entire lifetime. This is not entertainment. This is a psychological mirror. And by the end of this video, you are going to understand yourself in a way you never have before. Stay with me. Every single second of this matters. Here is what makes this exercise so extraordinary, and why psychologists have used variations of it for decades in clinical settings. When we respond to an image, when something visual produces a strong emotional reaction, it is almost never really about the image itself. The image is a key. It is unlocking something that was already inside you, already waiting, already pressing against the inside of a door that everyday life keeps firmly closed. Carl Jung, the Swiss psychologist who spent his career mapping the deepest territories of the human unconscious, had a name for what lives behind that door. He called it the shadow. The shadow is not simply your darkness. It is a totality of everything you have suppressed, everything you have been told is unacceptable, everything you have pushed below the surface of your conscious identity because the world, your parents, your culture, your relationships, your own survival instincts, decided those parts of you were too dangerous, too painful, or too complicated to carry in the open. And here's what Jung said about the shadow that will change the way you understand every uncomfortable feeling you have ever had. The things that disturb you most, the things that produce that specific, nameless, irrational tightening, are almost never truly about the external world. They are about the unprocessed experiences and suppressed parts of yourself that the external world is reflecting back at you. That discomfort you felt when you looked at one of these masks, that was not a random reaction. That was your unconscious mind trying to hand you something. A message, a memory, a part of yourself that has been waiting, quietly and patiently, to finally be acknowledged. So let us begin. Let us go through each mask, not quickly, not superficially, but slowly, deeply, with a full psychological weight that each one carries. And as we move through them, I want you to notice what happens inside your body, not just your thoughts. Your body, because your body often knows the truth that your conscious mind is still working up the courage to say out loud. Look at the first mask, the smiling mask, pale as porcelain, smooth as a theatrical surface polished to perfection, a wide, carefully constructed smile that curves upward at exactly the right angle. But the eyes above that smile, dark, narrow, watchful, tell a completely different story. There is joy on this mask, but the joy does not reach the eyes. The joy is a performance. And somewhere in the gap between that smile and those hollow eyes lives something that was never joy at all. If this mask creates the strongest discomfort in you, if this is the one your stomach quietly reacted to, what you are actually responding to is a fear of falseness. Not evil, not aggression. Falseness, the specific, deeply unsettling experience of warmth that is not real, of kindness that carries a calculation, of a smile that means the opposite of what a smile is supposed to mean. And this fear, this particular sensitivity, does not appear in people who have lived in a simple, straightforward world. It appears in people who have been hurt through the vehicle of apparent kindness. Someone who smiled while they were taking something from you. Someone who said all the right words while doing all the wrong things. Someone whose warmth was always slightly conditional, available when it served them, withdrawn when it didn't. You learned through painful and direct experience, that the most dangerous thing in the world is not something that looks dangerous. It is something that looks safe, something that smiles. And that lesson went so deep into your nervous system that now, all these years later, your body still tightens when it detects that specific frequency, the frequency of performed warmth. You are not paranoid. You are not damaged. You are a person whose instinct was sharpened by an experience that left a mark. And that sensitivity, that ability to detect the slight wrongness beneath a performed smile, is not a burden. It is one of the most sophisticated human protection systems that exists. The question Jung would ask you is this: can you learn to use it as information rather than as anxiety? Can you let it guide you without letting it isolate you? Can you trust the signal without shutting out every smile that comes your way? Comment right now. Tell me, does this one resonate? Have you experienced warmth that later revealed itself to be something else? Drop it below, because your experience, whatever it is, deserves to be said out loud. Now look at the second mask, the demonic mask. Deep, burning red, haunted, a mouth frozen in a snarl that carries centuries of human mythology about the most terrifying thing a person can face, a force without conscience, without limits, without the restraint that civilization requires of all of us. This mask radiates aggression in its purest, most uncontrolled form. And if this is a mask that tightens something inside you, if this is a one that produced not just fear but a specific kind of dread, then what you are responding to runs far deeper than ordinary discomfort. The fear this mask awakens is the fear of aggression and the loss of control. But here's the part that most people are not prepared to hear. When this mask disturbs you the most, it is almost never purely because you fear aggression in others. It is because somewhere, under many careful layers of restraint and control and social presentation, there's a rage inside you that you have never let yourself fully feel. A controlled, suppressed, tightly held anger that was formed at a very specific moment, or across many specific moments, when you understood, either through direct punishment or through watching what happened to others, that intense emotion was dangerous, that if the feeling got too big, something would break, something would be destroyed, something irreversible would happen. And so you learn to hold it, to compress it, to present yourself as calm and measured and reasonable, because somewhere deep in your psychology there's a belief that if the anger were ever truly released, yours or someone else's, the damage would be catastrophic. Jung called this the suppressed shadow emotion. The feeling we fear most in the world is almost always a feeling we carry most heavily inside ourselves. The people who are most afraid of other people's rage are almost always the people who are most afraid of their own. And the question that this mask asks you, gently but directly, is this: what would happen if you stopped being afraid of the intensity that lives inside you? What if your anger, fully felt and consciously directed, was not the destructive force you've always feared, but the most powerful, most authentic part of you that you have never given permission to exist? Subscribe right now if you haven't already, because what we're doing in this video, this level of going beneath the surface, beneath the performance, beneath the comfortable version of who we think we are, this is what this channel does every single week. Hit subscribe, and keep watching. Now we come to the third mask. And in my experience, this is a mask that quietly, without drama, without spectacle, disturbs most people the most deeply. The empty mask. Look at it. Pale, featureless, smooth, hollow circles where the eyes should be. A flat, expressionless mouth that communicates nothing, not cruelty, not sadness, not anger, not warmth. Just absence. The most unsettling thing about this mask is not what it expresses. It is what it refuses to express. It is a void where a person should be. If this is the mask that produces the strongest discomfort in you, what you are responding to is a fear of emotional coldness, the specific, deeply wounding experience of being in the presence of someone who is physically there and emotionally completely gone. Someone who looks at you and through you at the same time. Someone whose eyes land on your face but whose attention never actually arrives. Someone who speaks your name but makes you feel, in some wordless way, that you are not quite real to them. This experience, being unseen by someone who seeing matters to you, is one of the most foundational wounds in human psychology. The infant who reaches for a face and finds it blank. The child who runs to show something exciting and encounters distraction. The person who shares something vulnerable and receives nothing in return. Not cruelty, not rejection. Nothing, and nothing, in human emotional experience is often more devastating than cruelty. Because cruelty at least acknowledges that you exist. Coldness makes you question whether you do. If this mask disturbs you, somewhere in your history there's an experience of not being truly seen by someone whose seeing mattered enormously to you. And the work that this mask is inviting you toward, the work that Jung would point you toward, is not the work of finding someone who will finally see you completely. It is the work of learning to see yourself, of becoming the witness to your own experience that you needed someone else to be, of understanding that the emptiness you fear in others will lose its power over you the moment you stop needing them to fill the space inside you that only you can actually fill. I want to pause here for a moment and ask you to do something. Hit the like button right now, not because I'm asking, but because if any part of this is landing, if any part of this is resonating somewhere real inside you, that like is your way of saying, I see something in this that is true about me. That is all it is, a small acknowledgement. Hit it right now. And now we reach the fourth mask. The sad mask. Earthen colors. Weathered surface. Eyes angled downward in a way that is not dramatic. It is quiet. A mouth curved into a kind of permanent, dignified grief that does not demand anything from you. It simply is. And for some people, not the people who fear the demonic, not the people who fear the empty, this quiet, dignified, weathered sadness is the hardest thing in the world to look at. If this is your mask, if this is the one that creates the strongest inner tightening, what you are responding to is a fear of vulnerability. Not someone else's vulnerability. Your own. This is a mask that disturbs people who feel deeply, people who have the capacity for grief that runs wide and runs far, and who have learned, somewhere along the way, to be terrified of that depth, not because they are weak, but because they have been in that depth before. They know what it feels like when the sadness arrives in full, when it fills a room, when it gets into the bones, when it stops feeling like a passing weather pattern and starts feeling like a permanent climate. They have been there, and coming back was hard. And a part of them, a quiet, protective, well-intentioned part, decided that the safest thing to do was to stay close to the surface, to stay busy, to stay useful, to keep moving, because moving is the one thing that guarantees you don't have to sit with a feeling that has no bottom. If this mask disturbs you, it is not because you are fragile. It is because you are profound. You feel at a level that most people cannot access. And the work that this mask is offering you, gently, without judgment, is a work of trusting that the depth of your feeling will not destroy you, that the sadness, fully felt and fully honored, will move through you, that vulnerability is not the end of your strength. It is the most honest expression of it. And here is what ties all four of these masks together. Here is the truth that Carl Jung built an entire school of psychology around, the truth that this exercise, in its simplest form, has been quietly demonstrating. Your fear is not about them. It was never about them. It is always, always a message from the part of you that has not yet been given permission to speak. The smiling mask is not about false people. It is about the part of you that learned to distrust warmth because warmth once cost you something. The demonic mask is not about external aggression. It is about the intensity inside you that you have been containing for so long it has started to feel dangerous. The empty mask is not about cold people. It is about the part of you that has never felt truly seen and has started to wonder if perhaps you are somehow unseeable. And the sad mask is not about sadness in the world. It is about your own depth, your own profound emotional capacity that you have been trying to manage from the outside instead of honoring from the inside. Jung said something that I want you to carry with you beyond this video. He said, "One does not become enlightened by imagining figures of light, but by making the darkness conscious." The discomfort you felt when you looked at one of these masks, that is not something to push away. That is not something to analyze quickly and move past. That is an invitation, an opening, a crack in the carefully maintained surface of the person you show the world. And through that crack, if you are willing to look, is a version of you that has been waiting your entire life to be understood. Not fixed, not improved, understood. So here's what I want you to do right now. And this is the most important comment request I will ever make in any video. Tell me below, which mask disturbed you the most? And if you're willing, just a sentence or two, tell me why you think it did. Not what you think you're supposed to say. The real answer. The one that lives in the gut before the logic catches up. Because the comment section of this video is going to become something extraordinary. It is going to become a space where people who have spent years not understanding their own reactions finally find language for something they've always felt but never been able to name. Your answer matters. It will help someone else. Write it below. Subscribe right now, because this channel is a commitment to going exactly this deep every single week. To never staying on the surface when there's a real conversation to be had underneath it. To treating your psychology not as a problem to be solved, but as a territory to be explored, with curiosity, with courage, and with a kind of honesty that most people spend their entire lives avoiding. Subscribe. Share this video with one person who you think is carrying something they have never been able to put into words. Because sometimes the most important thing we can give another person is not advice. It is the right question, asked at the right moment, in the right way. And I want to close with this. The masks on the screen, the smiling one, the demonic one, the empty one, the sad one, they are not portraits of other people. They are portraits of the parts of us that the world decided were too complicated, too intense, too much, too deep to be shown openly. We learned to put them away, to lock them in rooms inside ourselves that we walk past every day without opening. This video was that door opening, just slightly, just enough to let a little light in. And what you felt when the light hit, that tightening, that recognition, that strange mixture of discomfort and understanding, that is a feeling of becoming more whole, more real, more fully yourself than you were before you press play. That is what this work looks like. Not comfortable, not quick, but true, and truth, your own deeply personal, fully inhabited truth, is the only foundation on which a real life can ever actually be built. I will see you in the next one.